They're like,
It's okay. It's
yeah.
okay. I understand it. I mean,
Hmm.
the I was supposed to go on Halloween, but I ended up spending
Yeah,
time with my son instead. So
that's okay. And today Jody's not here because she had an emergency with her mother. So hopefully everything's okay with that. Um, if she can, she will join us
okay,
later. Um, but you know how ERs are, so
yeah, oh yeah,
uh, not a fun place to hang out, and usually get stuck there all day. So,
yeah, yeah. I've had that experience a few times with myself and with relatives. So
yeah. Um, so there's been a lot going on lately in the media
uh huh,
about UFOs, about uh, earthquakes, about um, the end times.
yeah, yeah.
um, but we know that the alien invasion did not occur. Um, that
I
didn't
didn't make a
surprise me.
single. I didn't make a single video about that prediction.
Yeah, I didn't really think it was going to happen. So,
I'll tell you what, and it has nothing to do with the person who made the prediction or the
mhm.
prediction itself. It's just how many times have we lived through this prediction?
Yes, exactly.
So, in some cases, I'm going to have to say, I believe in aliens. I believe in aliens, UFOs,
Hmm.
otherworldly creatures, other dimensional creatures, all of that. But I'm going to have to see the invasion before I talk about the invasion.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would say if anybody deserves to be invaded, humanity does. Any,
I agree.
but
Yeah.
uh, they may also be looking at us going, "I am not going there."
I've always thought that myself. Because
Hmm.
I think I told you guys this the last time.
Hmm.
The way I see humanity is we're totally based on violence. We don't even see it in our daily life
Hmm.
because if you grow up with it your whole time. I've talked to my son about this since he was a kid. From cartoons, sports, everything is violent. If you really look at it that way, if you came from a culture with no violence and you saw a planet where they ate other life forms,
Hmm.
even if you have advanced technology, would you go there? I wouldn't.
No, and it's interesting because we also study other other animals
Yeah,
for their behaviors and watch. Okay, like the chimpanzee, we know that they're very like warring. They like they fight. That is their
yeah,
thing. And then you have the opposite, the bonobos, and complete opposite of that. And so, I mean, we're just another species that can be observed for behavior.
Oh, I absolutely agree with the observed part. That's
Hmm.
I didn't really mean they wouldn't come and see us. What I
Oh,
meant is they
right,
wouldn't introduce themselves.
right.
Like
No, I
people
got it.
don't just jump in pits of kimono dragons and say, try to communicate with them.
Right. Hi, how you doing?
Right.
Kimonos. Yeah, you don't do that. Um, but yeah, I just think it's interesting because I mean, I studied a little bit of that for in college, and actually considered a minor in zoology just because it was so
Okay.
fascinating, the behaviors. Um, and even though I've seen a lot of different studies about even like cats and dogs, and I'm like, I could say that that's not necessarily true.
I got you.
Yeah, because we also have free will, and so do they. But I think it is interesting. What I've noticed is a lot more cooperation between the different animal species.
Okay.
I've seen some interesting things, and I'm like, that's interesting. Like
Now,
things
yeah,
you wouldn't expect to see together.
right. That's something to look into, actually.
Mm-hmm.
If that's like some type of situation happening or a change in our, I don't know how the word to say, but a change in our life
Right.
cycle, maybe is a way to say that. That's something to look into. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
You
If
know,
you do a search, there's like there's like you'll see like animals that would normally be like prey or something to another.
uh,
They you'll see like the predator actually helping the baby orphan of what their prey would be. It's
I saw a weird video with a lion. I think it was a lion, not a tiger, where it like it the oh God, I can't remember the other species. I can't remember what it was, but it came like right up to the female tigers who were the hunters,
Mhm.
and they just kind of like mothered it for a little bit. It might have been a baby hyena actually, and they just kind of mothered it for a little bit. And I thought, oh, you're done, you're lunch, you know. But that's not what happened at all.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's stuff like that that it was just like, oh, that's unusual.
that's a good sign actually,
Yeah.
because we're not having that with people. From what I
No.
well, in my personal life, it's not bad, but I mean,
Right.
well, from what I see face to face with people,
Mhm.
but overall, I just feel I don't know how you feel, but overall, gosh, I hate to be a downer, but it just seems like everything is darker in a way,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. We also have to be careful though that what media is choosing to show us also.
Exactly. Because I don't think people hate each other as much as they try to portray.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know if you've seen a lot of stuff. I'm not a political person at all, not at all. But how if your family voted a different way than you shouldn't spend time with your family now.
Right.
Like, this is kind of a narrative that's actually
Mhm.
getting pushed. It's not just a
Yeah.
few people saying this. And
No.
I'm like thinking, are you out of your mind? I mean, if I got along, I didn't get along with my family. It's a different story. But if I did, I wouldn't cut people off for that,
No.
you know? And I think that you're right. There's a lot of stuff that the media pushes that I don't see in day-to-day life, you know?
Right. Right, because we work with all different kinds of people
Yeah.
and eh, obviously not everybody's going to share the same opinion or same views, and you just doesn't mean you like hate them or won't work with them or won't even be friendly with them.
Right, because
It's
I've said this before in live streams of my own that you'll never meet anybody who has 100% the same opinions as you.
mm-mm.
Nobody
No.
does. So if you start nitpicking things, pretty soon you're going to be alone,
Yeah.
you know. And I don't even care if people disagree with me on stuff. No, I don't. I just, the only thing I don't like is two things: is being told something about myself by somebody else. Um, I don't even actually. The second thing I don't even mind either. Like if you're just disrespected for your opinion, I'm kind of over that now too. If somebody just disrespects or casts off my opinion, that kind of doesn't get to me anymore either.
Yeah.
I think I kind of aged out of that. So
I think you do kind of get to a point you're like, well, you kind of have to accept people where they are and
yeah,
who they are, um, but don't hold on to that for yourself because that's not you. That's not
right,
your thing to carry around. It's kind of doesn't serve a purpose to do that. While there may be certain values or morals that may create lines in a relationship,
uh-huh.
but again, being hateful isn't going to solve anything.
No, it won't at all. The more I'm just thinking this in my mind. Why is this being pushed?
Yeah, I
You
don't
know,
know, but
but
I
it
was
is
kind
being
of,
pushed.
yeah, it was kind of surprising when it started, but it's been going on for like a few years,
Yeah,
and and I'm like, okay, I mean, whatever.
yeah, exactly.
I still have friends who think differently than me, but I'm not going to,
Yeah,
as long as we're respectful to each other, and then it's not an issue.
yeah, exactly. I agree with you 100%.
So, going back to, I'm going to look at some of Jody's
Okay.
questions. Um, some of these. Yeah, the earthquake that happened recently on Northern California, and there was almost a tsunami.
Yeah. Yeah, 7.0 just off the coast of
Mm-hmm.
Northern California. That was crazy. And then the
Yeah.
tsunami warning came, and I don't think actually nothing came of the tsunami as far as
No.
I know.
Mm-mm. No.
I have a friend on. I met him in person. He's from Reno, but I follow him on Twitter or X, and he is an earthquake. Um, how to say this? He is so into this stuff that like he'll post it before it gets on the news. You know, and I don't know if he's connected with the University of Nevada, but University of Nevada has a huge seismic center there.
Okay.
He almost has to be because he's too quick. He's just too quick with stuff, and he predicts like where the tremors will happen afterwards, the aftershocks, and he's fairly accurate.
Oh, that's interesting.
But I saw it on his that day, and we get tremors here and stuff, nothing like that. But the earthquake there was a flooding in the past couple months. Thailand, Italy, France. I did a video about it trying to remember these places. There's been flooding around the world. It's to the point where these natural disasters are becoming just a secondary thought when people hear about them.
Yeah.
Where it used to be like the biggest story when you'd hear
Mm-hmm.
about anything like this.
Right.
And this earthquake story lasted for a half hour.
Yeah. It was pretty brief.
Yeah.
I only found out because my husband had been to check my messages when I was in my car getting ready to go home. Because I don't often, if I'm busy, I don't have time to do that. Um, and I saw it then, I'm like, what?
Yeah, when I saw the word tsunami, I
Mm-hmm.
was that because we see earthquakes all the time. When he said, my friend Kaz is the one who posted on Twitter, tsunami warning, I just started looking at stuff, and sure enough, it was all coming up like
Yeah.
tsunami warning off the coast. Every news agency out there was saying,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
that's
Tsunamis are
scary stuff.
terrifying. Yeah.
That is terrifying. That you just that would get to me. That would freak
Mm-hmm.
me out. That would
Mm-hmm.
freak me out completely. I don't know if you've ever, I'm sure you have seen video of that tsunami that happened.
Oh, yeah. That one.
Yeah.
I know what one you're talking about.
Or when all that, now you would know it because
Mm-hmm.
you've seen it. But if I had no experience and saw all that water go out, I wouldn't leave. I would like be trying to explore the area, figure out what was going on. Now, if you see that, you know to get out of there
Mm-hmm.
because the wave's coming. But
the thing is, it's so fast
yeah,
when it comes back.
yeah, when it
That
comes back, it's too late. It's too
yeah,
late.
if you're there, I mean,
Do you have any feeling, any idea, any just speculation of all these natural disasters that have been occurring in the past few months to the past few years? Is it that we're just more aware because everybody carries a cell phone camera, or are there more of them? That's the debate I have all the time.
yeah. I think that they are like the scientists watch all this stuff, I think, and they've been watching this stuff for years. um I think there might be an increase in, well, there certainly seems to be with the hurricanes.
Oh yeah, I unless they just didn't report them like 20 years ago, which is impossible.
Right.
There is an increase in hurricanes, and that's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, you can find that. That's true.
Yeah, and
That's
and
absolutely.
tornadoes, because I've always paid attention to that because I grew up in Tornado Alley, and I mean, you paid attention to when the tornadoes started coming in the middle of the night. You're like, what? And
Yeah,
that was several years ago when that started happening, and it just hadn't been a common thing.
well, what got to me in the past couple of years is I grew up in Wisconsin. I'm not in Wisconsin anymore, in Nevada, but we had tornado season type of thing, right?
Yeah.
But I don't remember tornadoes hitting in these other parts of the country before.
Not
And
really.
and I don't remember earthquakes hitting in different parts of the. When you got to be younger than me, but when you were younger, do you remember earthquakes hitting in Missouri?
No.
I
That
don't remember that ever happening.
mm-mm.
And now the East Coast even gets them now.
Yeah.
We
I
never got
know.
anything near that in Wisconsin. Near that.
Well, in Oklahoma, and they say that a lot of some of them are due to fracking.
Oh, okay.
And that has kind of, but they're not like really big earthquakes.
Right, right. I just wonder. Sorry, I got to blow my nose at the same
Hmm.
time. I just wonder why. I don't think we'll ever know why there's an increase in this. If it's just a natural cycle that happens every, let's say, just make up a number, 10,000 years,
Hmm.
20,000 years. But I believe it's twofold. I believe there is an increase. Plus, I believe people are recording stuff more, and so there's confirmation of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's
I,
some of that. And also, I think we're not also as connected to our news because and it's easy for some people to be, but I know for us, we don't have cable. We have um just some streaming stuff, and my husband will find it on YouTube.
yeah.
And then I guess we were looking at something, I don't know, we were looking at one of, it's probably because I have, what is that, Paramount Plus now or
Yeah,
something, but
yeah.
I think we have more options, like when you go to Pluto, like it plugs in
Oh, okay.
what, because he just discovered we have headline news or something, I don't know, he
Oh,
was
yeah.
looking
You
at
can
that.
get that off
Hmm.
of Amazon too. I think they have some of the news
Probably,
services.
yeah. But I don't
Yeah.
look at it a whole lot because I find the news to be very depressing and stressful. So periodically I will check some things out. But for the most part, yeah. I figure where I work, they'll probably tell me if it's really important, or my husband will tell me because he's watching. I see, and when he's off, he's watching stuff. He watches a lot about the volcanoes going
Oh, I
off,
remember
and
the whole Iceland thing that had gone on
hmm,
and it's still going on.
it's, yeah, it's still going on. And
That's,
there's stuff going on in Italy too.
oh, really? Oh, yeah. And it's not Vesuvius, it's a different spot. I
Hmm.
read about that too. It's a different spot where
Yeah,
they didn't call it a cauldron. They called it, what is it?
a
Same thing they call
caldera.
Yellowstone. Yeah,
Caldera. Yeah.
like the same as Yellowstone, like a super volcano area. And when I read about that, I was thinking it was around Vesuvius, but it's
Yeah.
not. It's a different spot altogether. And from the map I saw, it's all populated.
Hmm. Yeah. It's not a good location
No,
to
gosh,
have
that's
that.
another thing. Back to just for a second, the cable T. I don't think I've watched TV in a couple of months. And I used to be always TV on. And the news, I used to like to watch news because I wanted to get the news. I haven't
Right.
watched the news channel except for the election results, which was on and off,
Hmm.
probably for over 2 years.
Yeah.
And this is, if you knew me, this is complete. You would say there's no way this could happen, that I would stop. But like you said, I just find it makes me angry. It's just, it's
Hmm.
an argument. I don't want to live life as an argument.
No. And I feel like, I don't know, it's not all the news. And it's just, it's not like it used to be where, it was presented in a way that was, unbiased.
Oh yeah, it's both ways or
Yep.
whatever
Yep.
sides. It's not
Hmm.
it's completely biased. And like you said, it's not really the news anymore. It's a story that they just run with. Like,
Hmm.
to get off the political,
Yeah.
the Malaysian airline thing, I was really
Oh,
interested in.
yeah. I remember that.
But CNN did that as a story daily for like a year, right? I
Hmm.
mean, which I liked it at first, and I still like hearing about it. I'm curious about it, but they just basically just kept going and going and going, and you heard about nothing else, along with their political stuff, which I can't stand. So,
Yeah. It's It's gotten to they pick something and it's like there's other things going on.
Right.
And as far as that Malaysia flight, that was a real intriguing mystery, but they didn't have enough to be doing that.
Right. It wasn't yeah. It
It was
was
the
a
same things
retrend
over and
retrend.
over again.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And it's like, I'm not going to get this time back if I watch this.
Right. Yeah, I want to hear. I got to the point where I wanted to hear about other stuff that was going on in the country or the world, and you couldn't hear it.
Yeah.
So,
And it's kind of like reading. I read some news too a lot.
uh-huh.
And sometimes there's just so much crap to get through before they just tell you. And it's like
Oh
all this
gosh,
is
yeah.
not needed.
There's some websites that are just almost baked. They
Mm-hmm.
give you a great
Yeah.
headline, and then you can't get to it. There's this one I told my son we can't even a sports type of website. They'll always
Uh-huh.
give you a big headline, and I tell them we can't even look at this anymore because it'll turn out it's not even part of the story.
Right. Yes.
And I'm seeing that now in more. I I see it with movie updates all the time. Like they'll tell some big thing coming up with a movie, and then you read the story and it has nothing to do with whatever that line was. And they're
Yeah.
doing it with everything now, and this
Mm-hmm.
frustrates me because I want to read. I want to know what it is.
Yeah. And it's just something they made up to grab your attention.
Exactly.
And the news was doing that years ago. Cause I remember, I think was I adult yet or not? But I was at my parents' and the news was on. I could have been a teenager. And they said something like coming up, something about alien invasion. And this was way back in the 80s.
Uh-huh.
And there was nothing about that on the news.
Gosh, that just drives me crazy.
It's like, why did you do that?
Jeez. Yeah, and that's about all it is. Well, I guess it is. I mean, I don't watch anymore, but that seems like all it is now today is bait.
Yeah, and that was local news. That was,
Oh, okay.
that was so it's even weirder.
It is weird.
It's like, well, I guess that didn't happen either.
Yeah. A lot of strange stuff going on.
Yeah, and then there's a bunch of stuff lately about drones and
Oh gosh, I am so into this. This is just driving me nuts.
yeah, but they definitely look like drones and like they're like man-made.
Yeah, they do look like drones. Here's the thing. Did you see a few months ago, maybe 6 months ago, maybe longer, that there was a story, and it was national stories on all the news services about drones over military bases, U.S. military bases in Europe.
Yes.
Then a month or two later, it happened over U.S. military bases on the East Coast of the U.S. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's going all over New Jersey, the same drone situation.
Yeah.
And the thing that gets to me about this story is two things about this story is first, there are obviously drones. I mean, I've seen them too. That the flashing light thing always gets to me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whenever something has a flashing light on it that's flying in the sky, that's so it doesn't get hit by something else, you know? So that's something man-made.
Yes.
The two things that get to me about this drone thing is what's going on, first of all. And when the FBI investigates and does a press conference, or one of their spokesmen says, we don't know what it is, but you have nothing to worry about. What does that mean? And the second thing is my paranoia here. Okay, here's my paranoia. Is drone going to be the new word for UFO? I'm not saying these aren't drones. Okay, I'm saying they are drones. But is this setting up that anything you see in the sky goes as drone now?
I'm not seeing that yet. I'm not going to say that that's going to happen yet.
I breached that in a video I posted yesterday, that I wonder if this is going to be the new word for UAP, or because UAP didn't catch on. I wonder if just saying, yeah, there is something there, drone, will be the new thing. And I'm not saying this situation is set up to
Mhm.
make this happen. I'm saying you take advantage of that situation, you know?
Yeah.
But what do you think that these could be? And these are big.
They're big, but you can make big drones. I mean, it's not entirely impossible. In fact, if you think about it, um, that seems really kind of backwards.
But like, how many people would have to be doing this? I mean, this has got to be some kind of consorted effort, right? Or
Hmm.
is it something that you could just have a program and you could fly like 50 of them one person?
I mean, I think if you have the right knowledge base and the right materials, you could probably do that. And it's kind of silly for us to think that other countries wouldn't want to do that or have the capabilities of doing that.
Oh, that's one of the things I think I've read away.
Mm.
Either that it like a test of what our
Uh-huh.
military can
Mhm.
stop or control or not,
Mhm.
or another country coming in and watching. But I'm more towards test because of the whole "don't worry about it, it's not a problem, it's there, but it's
Right.
not a problem" answer.
Yeah.
Um, I just don't know enough about the technology of it to understand like how many people would have to be involved. Because I saw a video of a person from, I can't think of the name of the town in New Jersey, but she said it's happening every single night. With this is a good part though that she got to at the end. It's happening every single night. They're big, they're around, everybody's seeing it, except on Thanksgiving night it didn't happen. And one person in my comments section, when I mentioned that, said, "Why wouldn't it happen on Thanksgiving? Because it's a legal holiday, because people are off." Is that possible? Is it just because think of, and I know I'm going paranoid with this, right? But let's say it's a government thing, and
Mhm.
yeah, everybody's off on Thanksgiving, so it just didn't happen that one night.
Right.
But what do you have any idea what or any guess what this could be?
Uh I I mean, possibly I would it seems like something like maybe other governments and their military may be experimenting with, because technology is, they're looking for something that maybe can be used for, I mean, like arm them.
Right.
It's hard to say, but they may be just trying to play around and see what they can get away with. But it could be, it could be from our country doing that. So it could be that each country that this is going on in is their own government just trying to, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Kind of wargaming it type of
Or,
situation.
yeah.
The one thing that gets to me, and it's only because I saw it a couple of years ago, there was a video, and I made it on my original channel. I had posted it where Elon Musk talked about how easy it would be to make a attack drone, and he basically said you just get a drone, cheap drone, and then you get like the facial recognition chip out of your cell phone, and you just find the person, and you put a small explosive on it. He explained it in like a minute,
Mm-hmm.
everything but exactly how to make it. But you could kind of figure out from what he said if you were, and I, and now, so now I keep that in my head when I see this thing, and I think bigger payload. But I now I'm coming down to earth with it, where I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
no, if it was going to be something like that, it would have happened already, like an explosive device situation. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's more of a surveillance or a test. And I think it would be easy for other countries if they have people already here, like they
Mm-hmm.
have to have
Oh
them
yeah.
do this, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Because I think you could teach me how to do the drone thing in a couple of days. And like I said, I have no knowledge of it. So think of how easy it would be somebody who already knew how to do it, you
Right.
know? And there have to be programs out there, that computer programs that just do it for you almost, right? I mean, I would
I mean,
guess
I don't.
flying it around.
I know I would crash one if I ever tried to fly one. So.
Oh, when my son was little, we won one at the circus, and we tried it, and it was rough.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, yeah, I'm kind of concerned about that, the drone situation, and more so the explanation from the authorities just made it weirder to me. The whole "we don't
Yeah.
know what it is, but don't worry about it" thing.
And Amazon's also using drones to do deliveries.
Yeah, yeah. So
So, yeah. Which, I mean, you better be really good at piloting a drone.
yeah, exactly. I mean,
Drop it in the wrong place.
yeah, drop. I worry if it goes too high and it goes in. Well, they won't go high enough to interfere with airplanes. I would hope,
You hope
or
not.
close
But
enough to airports. You know.
there was something about that, though. They were interfering with the jets.
Geez, see, that's I never. This is something I never imagined would happen. And watch, this is just going to be a blip. Where years from now, we're
Mm-hmm.
talking. Remember when all those drones were just flying around? Nobody ever knew what happened to them.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be that so many people have drones now. They're like,
I think
let's
we're
see
getting
what we could
copycat
do.
type situation.
Oh,
I got a
yeah.
video I'm probably going to make today. In Oklahoma, was it? I think it's Texas, and it's so obviously it's a drone. It's so it's clear enough. It's obviously it's a drone. I think people are like, hey, I'm going to do it too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if
Yeah.
I younger me would do it if I was into that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going
Yeah.
to get a lot of copycat situations now.
Yeah. It's kind of like in the laser pointers. Remember?
Yeah. I got a weird laser pointer story for you. I don't know how far we can go with this though. Okay, so there was a guy who went to Vegas and there was a concert and he shot the concert up. Do you remember this guy? This
Yeah.
story?
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Paddock, I think was his name. Well, he was actually from Reno. And when after this happened, I knew people who actually knew him acquaintance wise because he would play at the Atlantis. And the Atlantis staff and his girlfriend worked at the Atlantis. And the Atlantis staff was told you can't say anything about him, right? And
Mm-hmm.
all anybody knew is he just played slot machines. So he was somebody just nondescript, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the place I lived at before this, every once in a while we would get a laser pointed into our window. And I thought it was the people on the street because they were just playing around and stuff like this. But Paddock's downtown Reno condo was within visual range of our window. And this is a big, just paranoid thing. Like I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
I've always had the maybe 2% suspicion. I wonder if he was testing out that laser and just,
Mm-hmm.
picking sites around from what he could see. Because now they won't even tell you he lived there, but he lived at this place that used to be the downtown Hilton. I can't think what the name of it is now. He had a condo there. The FBI searched it afterwards. And my son remembers we used to have a laser point into our window,
Oh.
point right into the apartment. I always
Mm-mm.
and I always thought it was coming from below, but now that I think about it, it couldn't have came from below. But I remember the whole laser pointer thing, how that went. Yes.
Yeah.
And that was just a fad too.
Yeah.
God,
And that,
that's such a weird situation.
yeah, it is. And I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they if they discover what's going on though.
I have a suspicion, and I think I'm right. I hope I'm not. That'll just fade away, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll never be told.
Probably.
You know.
Um, what is so? I got some of Jody's question here.
Okay.
Um, which one do I want to ask first? What paranormal idea do you not believe in?
Do I not believe in? Boy, I believe in a lot of paranormal stuff. What do I not really believe in? I believe in ghosts. I saw the ghost of my
Mm-hmm.
dad 4 days after he died. I
I
believe in
remember.
shadow people because I've seen one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if duendes are real. Have you ever seen a duende video?
Mm-mm.
It's like a little creature that runs around, looks like a human, like mostly in the South America. But I'm starting to wonder if people are putting clothes on a like a little dog or something.
Oh.
But I don't know if but that has a long history predating that. I think the chupacabra is misunderstood. I think
Yeah.
the theory of the chupacabra as a beast, as like a
Mm-hmm.
actual demonic beast, I think it's actually an offset of a dog or a wolf.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's real,
Yeah.
but I think it's an offset of a dog or a wolf.
It's like a mutant.
Um, Other paranormal stuff. I didn't used to believe people could communicate with the passed on openly,
Mm-hmm.
but something happened a few years ago where somebody close to me was trying to went to a person, I don't know what they call it, but to with her mother to talk to see if they could communicate with their late father, with her late father.
Yeah, I think I remember you telling.
And during that, my dad came
Mm-hmm.
through, and
Yeah.
she did not know my dad and his name, but she figured it out. She put two and two together. So because of that, I think that is possible. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
rarer than we're being told. Um, I'm just open minded to all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to look into it before I dismiss it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And
God.
Jody and I were talking about Bigfoot and how it's so elusive. But then we've heard some stories from people we know really well, and we're like, maybe? But it's
About
just,
15 years
yeah.
ago, my son and I had the conversation. He'd have been 7. He remembers this. That I said the only possibility or best possibility that Bigfoot would be real is if it's some type of interdimensional thing where it's not here all the
Mm-hmm.
time. So
Yeah.
that's why you can't find them all the time, you know? I mean, if you really search the forest, you can find anything that's alive out there. But there's so many credible people seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
What gets to me is like there's this thing in Wisconsin called the Beast of Brer Road, I think it's called. And it's these farmers who see it. And I grew up around these kind of guys. And they'll make up tall, you know, it's when they make up goofy stories, they're so bad it's not even funny, okay? And it's always just goofy. But they don't make up stories about seeing werewolves or
Mm-hmm.
things like that because they don't want to, they just dismiss it themselves until they see it themselves. That's the kind of person that I take a lot of stock in,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I tend to believe the Bigfoot thing. Plus, you know, that Patterson film has never been disproven.
Yeah.
And the best thing about that Patterson film to me is this: you would have to be a genius to have made the Bigfoot a female costume, because now they can tell it's a female Bigfoot. Who would have thought about that in the early 1970s?
Right. And I remember being a kid, and in the 70s, all the stuff that was on TV
Yeah.
back then, like they had stuff about Bigfoot, they had stuff about, the curse of, King Tut, and they had stuff about ESP,
Uh,
and um which was quite fascinating to me. But and I remember those videos and those, about Bigfoot, and then it seemed like for a while we didn't hear anything, and
yeah.
then there was like a resurgence again.
I've seen a couple of very good Bigfoot video pictures or picture-ish in the past 5 years or so. I've also seen some of the worst stuff you could ever imagine. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
things that are just so bad. And but I've seen a couple that actually looks like some type of ape, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but that Patterson film ever since, I think it's a cryptozoologist, I think, out of Idaho. I can't think of his name. Is Jeff something? You would, if you saw him, you would know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause he used to do all that stuff, all those videos and things. When he brought up that it was a female, that my first thought was like, that's just too far. I mean, that's just, who thinks about that far in advance? Do you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like how the arms move as like an ape's arms would move, and what the stride is. That's a lot to put into just putting a costume on a person.
Yeah.
So it's either a person in a costume or it's real. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a person in a costume, it's one of the greatest hoaxes of anything in history, I think, because it's
Mm-hmm.
stood 50 years so far.
Yeah.
And if it's not, there's something there.
Yeah. And they are still finding new species, or even like things that they're finding out about species, whether they were doing this behavior before or not, like the orcas that were draining blood from sharks.
Oh, I didn't even see this till like a couple of years ago. My
Mm-hmm.
2 years max. A video of an orca with a great white shark holding in its mouth upside down.
Mm-hmm.
That would be unimaginable if you didn't see it. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Because you
Yeah.
have no idea, but they're really fierce killers.
Yeah.
And they've been getting, I guess, a little more aggressive lately.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
I guess like trying to knock over boats and things.
Oh, really?
I heard, yeah.
I
But
wonder if there's any
probably mad.
communication that they make between each other, because I know that they do something similar to a song, not like a whale, but something like that.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Because
I remember when those were popular too. That was in
yeah,
the 70s.
yeah.
Oh,
I just wonder if they understand what has happened to their own species. Do you know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
And they're not
Oh,
so uh,
tolerant.
welcoming.
Yeah.
Yeah, calm or welcoming. Exactly.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because yeah, look at what's happening. Look what's
Yeah,
happening to their environment.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's just
It's
the garbage dump that they have in the ocean is bad enough,
yeah,
but they still get
that's
hunted.
mm-hmm. I'm not really
Which is,
sure why.
I don't understand the why of it either. I don't get it. And and this is a small amount of orcas, but I will never again go to like a water park to see an orca.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never do that. Before I saw that documentary, the documentary I'm talking
Yeah.
about, right? About how they were inbred, they're in these little tanks, and then the baby gets taken away from the mother, and the mother cries for years.
That's
For
so awful.
years. That's just, I, I don't care who, you got to know that's inhumane doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, that's awful.
Oh.
I don't. Yeah, they're they're just. I think the animals are angry and they're gonna rise up eventually.
I think they're angry too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we give them enough credit. I can see that the anger thing happening, or the ending trust in humans completely
Mm-hmm.
happening.
Yeah,
You know, gosh,
I
we mess
can.
stuff up as a species. I'll tell you.
We did, and yeah, there's when there were better things we could have done.
Yep.
Um, going on to the next. What is your favorite conspiracy theory?
My favorite conspiracy has always been UFOs and aliens. I don't know if
Uh-huh.
it's a conspiracy anymore, because
Right.
there's so many people have seen it and stuff that they don't even that they just you, you know it's almost commonplace now. It can be talked about anywhere, and some people still think you're crazy. But I mean, my ex-sister-in-law years ago in San Diego saw one out of her window for like 7-8 minutes. She's would never make something up like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. um that's that would be my original favorite. I'm starting to get more into the supernatural, such as
Mm-hmm.
unexplained apparitions, like
Mm-hmm.
ghosts or trail cam video. I found a trail cam that was just absolutely ridiculous the other day. I've actually posted videos at times telling people I don't believe it,
Mm-hmm.
but I always tell people give you the option. You know, my whole video is what do you think is always what it comes down to.
Right.
But I've seen some stuff I cannot explain that I
Yeah.
cannot explain. And
But
since I've had my own experiences, you
yeah,
know,
I would agree that a lot of the things that people post are, especially lately, it's just, yeah, not, there's an explanation for it, or it's just ridiculous, or it's pareidolia, which is common.
yeah. Um, One thing I don't believe in conspiracy wise is I do not think we're in the end times. I've never felt like it would happen in my lifetime. I've
Mm-hmm.
actually had this in my chest. It will never happen in my lifetime. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think we're near the end times. I know things are bad. I understand that, but
Right.
I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, I don't get a sense that that's what's happening. I know a lot of people around me do, but um, I also think um sometimes people focus a little too much on things that support that belief.
Right. I agree. I agree. I think if there's another conspiracy that I like the most. Oh my gosh, I know. The Mandela effect is kind of one too, and I just
Mm-hmm.
had a new one the other day, and I think
Ah.
it's both. I think it's so at Taco Bell, I think Burger King too, but I'm not a Burger King person. They used to have this thing. I don't know if you've ever where you drop like a dime into this machine, this plastic container, and if the dime landed on one of these pads, you could win a burrito or a taco or something like this, right?
Oh.
And what I remember of it was impossible because there was water in that thing. So you could drop it right over and it would just float in a different direction. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're saying there was never water in it. Well, I found pictures of both. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I posted that video and it's on different social media accounts. It's hundreds of thousands of views. And everybody says it's both. Some people are there's positive it was water, others are positive it's not water. So I'm thinking it had to be both. There's other Mandela effects I know are real myself. Do you remember the Monopoly guy? Do you remember
Oh
that this
yeah,
guy
we
had a
talked about this
monocle?
last time. Did they ever find him with the monocle?
Nobody has a monocle picture. I remember it clear as day. I am not thinking of Mr. Peanut.
I
That's
remember it
one.
was on the community chest card.
Yes, I remember he had. I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can't find that thing. And people always will say, I'm thinking of Mr. Peanut. I'm not.
Mr. Peanut.
Totally different. Another Mandela effect that got to me, my son brought this up to me a couple of years ago, was I was big into mythology and ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, all that stuff when I was younger. And I remember King Tut's tomb. I remember what it looked like. He had an asp sneaking out of the top of
Mm-hmm.
the burial thing, the tomb, what he was buried in, the sarcophagus. Now there's an asp and a bird at the top. I don't remember the bird ever being up there. And now when you
Yeah.
look at all the museum pieces, not like people's artwork or what, they all have the asp and the bird. I don't ever remember the bird sticking out the top of the head of the sarcophagus. I,
Yeah, I don't remember. Period.
but I was
I
so
mean,
into that. I remember exactly what it looked like. And now I'm told it's not. You know, and other people have like Bernstein Bears. My son wasn't into that, so I don't know if it was Bernstein or Bernstein. There's this weird one. I know you heard of the Shazam movie from the comedian Sinbad,
mm-hmm.
where people say it's the Shaq Kazam movie people are thinking of. But I absolutely remember something about that Shazam movie with Sinbad. I
Hmm.
remember a commercial for that. I never saw it. I know people who claim they've seen it. Hundreds of people have told me they've seen that movie that doesn't exist. But I remember at the time a commercial for it and me thinking they ripped off that terrible Shaquille O'Neal Kazam movie, and they made it with Sinbad. I remember at the time thinking about that. And now Sinbad, the comedian himself, has said at times he didn't do it, and he said he has done it. So I don't know if he's messing with people or what it is. But people remember a movie that didn't exist. I don't know if it existed or not.
Yeah,
but I remember the commercial. Unless it was just like a skit on, he had a comedy show for like a sitcom on Fox for just a very little bit of time. Unless it was a skit he did on that I'm thinking of.
I just remember Shazam was a like a superhero cartoon.
Yeah, they had that. They also did like a Genie movie. And people claim they saw the Sinbad Genie movie. People said they used to own it on VHS. I mean, people are convinced they've seen this thing. I mean,
well, there was Sinbad and the seven voyages or something.
Yeah, I remember that from the kid. But this is just a weird one where people are convinced they've seen this movie. So there's a lot of Mandela effects like that get to me. And I don't remember this happening, Mandela effects, when I grew up. I don't remember anything like this when I was a kid. Just in the past 10, 12 years or so, where people have they're absolutely sure. And I mean, it's not like it's like 50-50 on the percentages. You know, that's a conspiracy theory that gets to me, is because you half the people remember, and I mean, they would pass polygraphs on what they remember. Some people remember things one way, some remember it another. And it's like, it's not slightly off. It's like it's way off.
I know that for me, a lot of the things, unless it's from like before the 90s, because a lot of stuff references like the 90s. It's a lot of stuff that happened in that time. And I wasn't even watching much TV. I didn't watch a lot of TV in the 80s. I just wasn't into that. I was writing music or something. But so a lot of it is like, I know I wouldn't remember if there was or wasn't, because I wasn't really paying attention to media.
Yeah, like this movie, this Genie movie, it wasn't something I'd have seen. It wasn't something I would have paid attention to. If it wasn't for the fact that I was a sports fan, I knew who Shaquille O'Neal was, and that he had made this terrible movie about a genie himself, and that I thought this comedian Sinbad is ripping off the Shaquille O'Neal movie. Because you'll see this all the time, where there's one movie made and all of a sudden there's three more that are basically the same story with different people in it, you know? And so that's the only reason why I kind of remember it. But whenever I make a video about that, I swear I get hundreds of people telling me they saw that thing. And they're not mistaking it with something else.
Yeah.
So these Mandela effects, there's something to this. I don't know what this is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember the Fruit of the Loom one was solved.
Yeah. There was I saw a woman actually has the tag with the cornucopia.
Right. It totally had a cornucopia. That I know.
Now, I don't know why the company would say they never had it. Now, I understand. Look, if you changed your logo, you changed your logo.
Right.
But who at the company is saying we never had it? Instead of saying, well, maybe we had it, if you don't know, you know. But that's 100% true.
Yeah. I don't know. That's, unless they just, I don't know why they would do that. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because a lot of companies change their logo, but they don't then lie about it later.
Yeah, there's a lot of like little ones, like did Kit Kat have the dash between it? That could just be a logo change. That's not that big a deal.
Right. Yeah.
And you never got an answer from them, because I think they just don't even care. I mean, you know what I mean? That's just, you know. So a lot of that stuff like that. But that fruit, I just remember how the company actually said there was never a cornucopia.
Yeah.
And then that woman found that shirt. Good for her.
Yeah. She solved that one.
Yeah.
How about glitches? We call Jody and I call them glitches in the Matrix.
Uh-huh.
That's
I've
that's one we like.
I've heard of some weird glitches in the Matrix. I I've had a couple of these time. I don't even know how to make a video about this
It's
because it's
hard.
so bizarre. But like a time shift type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm sitting here talking to you, and right now it's 12:54. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and let's say my time. Let's say 5 minutes later we're done. We're not saying we're going to be done. Just using
Right.
this as an example. And then I set the phone down, and it's 3:54.
Right.
And I mean, that 2 hours is gone, and I'm not. Is there something wrong with me upstairs? Am I getting something? Am
No,
I in the
I
earth?
have that too, and I'm like, is it just because I'm older and I'm just I don't know. I've always been time blind, kind of, but to this
I,
extent, no.
I,
But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
my main profession in life was very time sensitive. It was in a sports book where you take bets on sporting events, so you have to be accurate on the times of everything because you can't take a bet after a game starts. You have to know what. So I like my ex-wife used to ask me the time. I'd be like 3:56, not 4, not 3:55. And she asked me about that one time. I told her it's just stuck in my head. This number thing is so stuck in my head to be exact, right?
Mhm.
And that's why this kind of gets to me. It happens occasionally, but I saw a video, and these people swear by this. A mom, her two kids in the car, she's talking to them. They're on their way to the grocery store. The kid looks up, goes, "Where are we?" And she like looks, and they're not there anymore. And she checks her GPS, and they're like 30 minutes away from the grocery store. They overshot it, and they haven't been gone for 30 minutes.
Oh, that's weird.
See, this is the kind of stuff that just type of glitch in the matrix thing that gets to me. Like, and I saw her. I don't think she's making up the story, but I've heard this on occasions from people,
Well,
and
I've
that
had
kind of
yeah.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, I've had one with one of my dogs. We have 3, but and 2 cats, and but I would it's happened like probably about 3 different times, and not like close together or anything, but I will have let him outside, and I'll go back to the back of the house to do something, and I'll just check on him in a little bit because he'll bark. Um, I come back to that side of the house, and he's coming out of the kitchen, and I'm like, I didn't let you in. How did you get in? And the first time I was like, okay, I must have forgot I let him in, but I would have, just like, okay, whatever. Happened another time, and I'm like, this is so weird. And then it happened like a third time. I'm like, all right, this is something I don't know what. It's so strange.
See, that kind of stuff happens to me too. And at first, I always think it's my memory
Mm-hmm.
that something's going on. I don't have nothing with pets, but like I just saw this guy made a funny video, but it's based in truth. I think he called it the T-shirt monster. Where like he doesn't his shirts he buys them, they're in his house forever, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
they're on him. That's me. I think that's everybody.
Right.
And sometimes he can't find them anymore, and then a month later they're at the top of the drawer. And he's a single guy who lives alone. Now I've had this happen 100 times in my life where I can't find a piece of clothing or something,
Yeah.
and I just wonder if, and this is a big guess, is there a possibility that there is a multiverse out there, which I believe. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying a comic multiverse, but an actual
Right.
real
Right.
life. And if we touch, and like in this one, your dog didn't leave the house,
Mm-hmm.
and you're actually in that, it's so close that the only difference in the universes is the dog leaving the house. The only difference in the universes is one, the dog left the house, one, the dog didn't. And
Mm-hmm.
you switch to the one where the dog didn't.
Right. So somewhere else is going, where's my dog?
Right,
And then he's
exactly.
at the
And they're the one where the dog left out. And that's the only difference in the whole universe is that one decision. Okay.
hmm
I wonder if that's possible.
Yeah. And
Because
it's
that would
only
explain a
it was
lot of stuff.
only that dog.
And I can tell you, I've heard versions of this story dozens of times from like I said, when you hear it from credible people like yourself or people that I know just look at their past. They're not going to make something up. You know what I mean?
Right.
I take it seriously and I try to figure it out. There's no way to figure it out. The only way is to guess. And I always wonder if that's just if universes are touching. Did all this stuff happen after CERN turned on
Yeah.
the first time?
I think so.
Because I don't remember this kind of stuff I remember as a kid, like not being able to find socks or shirts and stuff.
Right. We always joke that they disappear when they go in the dryer,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
actually
Now
doesn't make sense, really, unless
it
you're
doesn't
not
make
covering.
sense.
Yeah.
That's weird. But yeah, I've experienced a few glitches in the Matrix. I'm trying to think of anything off the top of my head right now. Oh, my son remembering things that he tells me stuff we did that I don't remember it at all. There's a couple of these events where I don't remember them at all. Like the movie we went to at our local movie theater closed down, our
hmm
downtown one, at the end of November. Me and him, we took his girlfriend to one last time.
hmm
Um, and I had taken him. That's probably the place he saw the most movies since he was real little. And he remembers certain movies we saw, and he remembers vividly. I don't remember a thing about it. Now, my memory isn't really that bad. My memory has been pretty good, but he remembers, and he's not messing with me. He remembers clear as day some things, and I wonder if that's kind of a glitch, you know, or if it's just me.
Hard that see a lot of them are really hard to actually prove or disprove
A lot, yeah.
because how would you do that? How would I prove? Oh, I mean, unless I had a video in my living room monitoring what I was doing.
People, you'd still have people who wouldn't even believe it, though.
Yeah. Um
Yeah, I think there are glitches in the Matrix going on. Like I said, I always go back to I don't remember any of this stuff happening. Glitches in the Matrix or Mandela effect pre-CERN turning on the first
mhm.
time.
Yeah.
You know, if something weird happened,
Yeah.
you know, that's a good one though.
Yeah. It's I,
It's strange. It's definitely strange.
yeah,
I,
it
I
is.
had one about this summer where I saw a guy cross the street and the same guy on the same side. And I was walking in downtown Reno and I saw a guy across the street. He had a tan shirt on, dark blue jeans, not homeless, but kind of struggling. And
Mhm.
he looked right at me, and then I turned my head, and he was in front of me on the same side of the street as me, like this quick, just a second.
Wow.
And I looked across the street, he wasn't there anymore. And for a second, I wondered if I just saw him in front of me and I put him across the street in my mind, you know, that freaked me out for a day. That's about the weirdest I think I've experienced on my own.
That would be
Except
weird.
except for remembering places that didn't exist, like I'm trying to think. There's a restaurant I remember my son doesn't. That used to be in downtown Reno, and there's no sign of it there. That could easily be just me mixing two places up, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, the glitch in the Matrix thing a lot, and that's something that's experienced by, I'm going to say, the majority of people.
Mhm. Yeah.
So there's something to that.
Yeah, it may also, I'm thinking it may also explain um the time when I dropped like a nickel or something, or a nickel or a dime on the floor in the kitchen, and it's, it just went and stopped, and it lay there, and I was gonna pick it up, and then it like uprighted somehow and started spinning, and I was like, how did it do that?
That is amazing.
And I was like, okay, maybe that's like something alien. I don't know, because I was like, I don't know what
Wow.
that is, but I mean, maybe if there's like some sort of shift, maybe like it shifted briefly to the
Yeah.
another place where it hadn't finished or whatever, and it
Right.
was
Right. Exactly. That's amazing.
and it was really weird. That was probably the weirdest thing that happened here, because fortunately there's no ghosts here that we can detect, so um we don't really want a haunting.
Yeah, I'm not. I had the old place that I lived at that's being like remodeled, or they were gonna they gutted it. They found out there was asbestos. This place had a negative energy in it, just
Oh.
bad. And we had a poltergeist. My son remembers, because I always put my key. I'm a person who has to keep things in the same place all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's OCD more than anything else. Okay, and I would set my keys in this wallet in the same place. Go get a drink, come back, my wallet's there, my keys are gone, and I just set them both together. And I'd be okay. I'll just watch TV. I in like a half hour later, go to the bathroom, come back. Next to my wallet are my keys now.
Oh, yeah.
And and my son had experiences like that, and I told him I believe it's just a poltergeist messing with us. And it lasted for a few months and just left. It didn't get a rise out of us.
Yeah.
I was in a place in downtown Reno that I used to live in. There were a lot of weird kind of, you could feel it in the hall. Yeah, not quite as strong as like the Shining movies looking in the hallways, but you could feel in the hallways there was something there. That building was built in 1906. There were a lot of people who passed in that place.
Yeah, and I know that I've been looking for my keys before and dumped out my entire purse, have them not be in there, not be able to find them, and then um and dump out other things that I had. They're not there, and then later they're there.
See, so yeah, like there's something to that. I'm not, maybe poltergeist, maybe something different, but there's something to
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, I can also see that being a glitch.
I can see that being a glitch. See, I was so convinced from the beginning that was, and I remember telling my son, I think he was 10. I said he had to be 10 or younger. That I said that would, I think we just have a poltergeist here. And I said,
Hmm.
as long as we don't get scared, we don't get a rise out of it, we just let it occur, everything will be okay. And
Yeah.
basically everything was okay. After like 2 months, it never bothered us again. Because what's the fun of playing with somebody who won't play back?
Right.
You
What
know?
what did it do anything else, or just relocate things
It
or
was
borrow
stuff like
them?
that. Like I'm trying to think. Never did anything like turn on the oven or the stove. I think it turned off the stove actually once. Turned off the oven when we were cooking a pizza. Because I remember turning it on. It had this real long sound. It would go click, 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 boom. Like an old
Oh.
gas stove.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I would remember if it went on. I remember coming back and it was not turned on. My son told me this recently, that we had, the bathroom had like an old tub, like a 1930s style bathtub. And he told me this recently. I didn't know it till then. It used to freak him out to go in that bathroom. He had a feeling in that bathroom like dread, and it always got to me a little bit too. And I always thought it was, this is a weird way to put things, but my mind does work weird, that it was because of that tub that I was feeling that way. Because I was always worried I would fall trying to get out of that tub. And I was always thinking that was my concern when I was in there, you
Wow.
know? But that place, it was called the Ross Manor in downtown Reno.
Mhm.
They changed the name to Weston because a company bought it from the owner. And then it like I said, they found asbestos and they're gutting it now. But that place had a lot of weird kind of things like that go on.
Oh, wow.
But the poltergeist thing, I think all it did was just move stuff around. And once it turned the oven off, I don't think anything else really happened that I can remember. But I always thought of it as a poltergeist. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Could be.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've had poltergeists, but I don't want to invite one either.
I don't want to invite one either.
Yeah. Um, have you ever had a near-death experience?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
no. Not like passing over, but I've come
Okay.
close to death probably 4 or 5 times where I was close to it. I had pneumonia when I was a kid 3 years in a row. It's
Oh.
kind of a sob story. This is, I'll tell you this, it's just so dumb. It's not dumb. It just show you how I grew up. I was a teenager and I had pneumonia and it was really bad. My mother and my brother, one of my brothers, my other one had already left the house, and my sister didn't believe me, thought I was making it up. And I was spent 2.5 days. I can't even show you the breathing because it'll cause an
Mm-hmm.
asthma attack.
Yeah, don't
And
do
finally,
that.
my mom took me to the doctor, and I was just physically, I could see everything going dark, and I held on. And they had to give me a shot of adrenaline and stuff. And I remember the doctor telling my mom, like, why didn't you all bring him in here sooner? And she said she thought I was making it up. And the doctor just being like, "Are you out of your mind? Who like gasped for breath for 2.5 days?" A year later, I got pneumonia, and she thought I was making it up again.
Oh,
That's okay. That's not the thing. But I've come close, but I've never had where I've had a near-death experience. No,
okay.
no.
I haven't either, but my husband has. I know we're gonna talk about it at some point on the show eventually. Um, but I really I I just listened to uh like he's a professor. I forget his name. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was an interview with this guy who studies this at I forget what Dobbs,
Okay.
and it was interesting. What they found in their studies and everything, um, and the similarities, and um, but yeah, it's also quite similar. It sounds like to the stories about people who astral project.
Oh yeah. I know a couple of people who say they can do it. I personally can never do anything like that.
Hmm.
My mind never stops going while I'm awake.
Well,
It's
I think.
always running.
Hmm. Well, mine is too. Um, but I think it has a lot to do with also control and being able to let go of your body to be able to do that.
I
and
don't think
and
I
I
have that in me.
I
I
don't.
know I don't. I know I don't.
I don't either.
I don't. No.
Because what I've heard things, and not to say they're true, but you hear things like something could jump in, and it's probably from movies, jump in your body and take over, and then
Yeah, I don't want to have to explain what somebody else did as me.
right, that would go
Yeah.
over so well.
That would be bad.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what, because sometimes I scroll around on YouTube to see what interesting things people might be talking about, but most of the stuff. Ouch! Sorry, my cat is kneading me.
Okay.
um, and did you see the most recent? It was last month. The most recent, or was it? Yeah, it was last month. Um, Congress hearing on UAPs.
A little bit of it, yes.
Yeah, and again, we didn't get much.
I think it's some people say it's a distraction. I don't believe that. I think it's used as a distraction. I don't think it's meant
Hmm.
to be. I think
Right.
a lot of the things that are distractions aren't meant to be distraction, but it can also be used that way. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's I don't know how to say this. It's a way to validate without validation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way to come out and say, we'll talk to you about this. We'll say, yeah, we don't know what it is. And okay, we heard you, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
But further questions, I'll have to answer that in private.
Yeah,
Whatever it is
things
that
like
they
that.
say.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
I saw parts of those and
mm-hmm.
I no longer have the faith that anything like that'll come out.
Yeah.
So, and I'm glad people do. I'm glad people still do. I'm glad they have the positivity to that. I just don't think it'll come out that way.
Mm-mm.
I don't know how it'll ever come out now, to tell you the truth.
It would only come out if aliens came here and showed themselves, I think.
Yeah, and I don't think it'll. I have my reason for why that won't happen. I think we're too violent, and
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think if there was a UFO right over a city, like let's say like in the movie District 9, you ever see that movie?
Mm-hmm.
Like let's just like that. I think we would have a percentage of people, and I mean 15 to 20%, who still wouldn't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think the only possibility is, and it could be an alien ship that landed in Central Park that visited for an hour. They would have to be here for a while for people to overall believe it.
Yeah.
And I don't see, you know, if it was a violent culture, the way that the movies do, like the invasions,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to happen that way. It's not going to be a ship to ship type thing where their ship destroys your plane. It's going to be an annihilation from space. You know, if it ever
Right.
happened, or just like this species lives to be 100,000 years old. We live to be 100. So let's just put a bug in their atmosphere, and 10,000 years from now, they die.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that type of thing. I don't think if there's ever type of an invasion, it would happen like it does in the movies. And I just don't think we'll get to a point. Yeah, I hope we do, but at least in my lifetime, where people overall believe. I think more
Mm-hmm.
people believe now. They're just not saying. But I think that everything will be doubted.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't blame people for doubting, because you can't. You can't. I don't believe what the press or the government says half the time, at least. So, you know,
Mm-mm.
and it's easy to believe when they agree with you.
Yeah. I think it's important to keep an open mind, but also like have some skepticism too, and some, just common ability to discern the information you're intaking, and to be able to say, it's probably not real.
Yeah,
Because now with AI making stuff, I mean, there are certain ways you can tell it's AI, but
yeah.
um, for one thing, they don't know how to make hands
Well,
and fingers.
about maybe 6 months ago, a year ago, when I start scrolling Twitter. I post a little bit on there now, but not a lot. I just kind of use it to scroll to get ideas,
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see a lot of young women accounts will pop up and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of it that's AI. And I say, look. I'm just telling you, everybody has a blemish. Everybody has.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a real person. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that is an AI account, and now I wonder, we're not gonna know what's real in the
Yeah.
very near future, and that's just I saw a UFO video that looked really good, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I saw the military jets going with it, I mean, clear as day. I got to tell you, I never used this video clip at all,
Mm-hmm.
and other people, and I gotta believe it's fake, because they oversold it with the military jets. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
it was, I don't know. I do make a lot of all my videos. I say it depends what you think. I want to know what
Right,
you
right.
think. But I have made a few lately where I've said, I don't believe this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you my opinion is most of the time my opinion is could be this, could be that, could be whatever. But I made a couple lately where I'm like, this is fake.
Yeah.
You know.
Because
So,
people will believe that.
oh yeah, I finally posted one last week that I had the pictures of it, but it was so bad. I'm just telling you, it was the worst trail, not the worst trail cam thing I've ever seen, but it's these three deer and they have lights over their heads and lights on their eyes. I'm like, either they have lights actually on them or this is
Mm-hmm.
CGI. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. Then I had no content, so I had to make the video really quick. And
Mm-hmm.
I did exactly what I told Jason. I said at the end, I've got a conclusion. I don't want to be a buzzkill. So I even gave it away that I'm telling you it's not
Mm-hmm.
real, right? At the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, I said, I cannot believe these pictures are real.
Yeah.
Okay. And that video ended up doing great. I thought this is going to be one where people tell me, you're showing stuff that's fake, even though you're telling us it's fake. But it ended up doing great. I think it's kind of because I'm to the point now where I've always been to the point where it's your decision, and I'll just tell you what I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm starting to get to the point where I'm also going to tell you if I know it's not real.
Yeah.
You know, but that kind of makes me sad in a way. The AI, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
I want to know what. God, now we're not going to know what's real.
Nope. That is a problem.
Yeah,
And it's happening more and more, but I mean people are calling out those kinds of things now.
yeah,
But there's still a bunch of people, oh no, it's real. No, no, it's not. I mean, they even have one, it's about bats, and they can't even get the bats correct anatomically.
oh, really?
They're giving them hands
Really?
and arms. It's like, no, they're attached to the wings.
Right,
They're
right, right. Oh, okay.
so it's like a real giveaway right there, unless you don't really know what a bat looks like, which
Yeah,
there's a few people that don't.
that's amazing. Okay, okay. That gosh, there was a guy I followed on Twitter. I think he still does UFO videos, but now almost all of them are in my opinion are just a CGI.
Mm-hmm.
He got into like whatever got him the views instead,
Yeah.
and he just like posts like this was just filmed over Ohio. Like, first of all, maybe that was filmed over Ohio, but something was added to that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
It kind of it's it makes you doubt more and more, and maybe what happens as a result of that is there's some legitimate footage that gets doubted as well because of all the AI stuff now.
I think that's absolutely true. I think that's 100% true. I think that legitimate stuff does get doubted now. So
Mm-hmm.
we have 100 videos and 5 are legitimate, right?
Right.
And because the 5 that are legitimate are not clear,
Therefore, they're like, let's be real though. When I try to take pictures with my cell phone, which is what most of us have
right?
on hand, I it's not going to look good. I can't even get a good picture of the moon with it. I did the other day because I found, oh, I have some settings in here. But if you see something, you're
Right,
not going to have time to go, oh wait, let me adjust my settings.
right, exactly, exactly.
So I mean, that's why a lot of times I'd rather hear the story from the person's mouth than have them send me a video.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I want to hear the person's experience who did it.
Right.
And I don't know if, I mean, the majority of these, we never hear the person's experience of
Mm-hmm.
what, never.
Right.
That's why I liked hearing about the woman in New Jersey talk about like every night experiencing
Mm-hmm.
these drones.
Right.
So I like to hear her story on that she's seen them. The neighbors have seen them. The whole area has seen them. They're big. And for some reason, they just didn't go on Thanksgiving,
Yeah, which
you
is
know?
so funny.
which is just weird. Like, no Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That's yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I guess they were watching the football game and
I don't know. I, I feel, yeah. I don't know why. Just no
yeah.
Thanksgiving. Very
I
strange.
wonder.
Very,
And then did they return again?
yeah.
Okay.
It's been
So are
every
they
night
going to
since
take?
then. Yeah.
So maybe they'll take off on Christmas.
Gosh, that would be just. Is that gonna still go on through
I
Christmas? My first
don't
thought was,
know.
it's still gonna go on through Christmas. I just wish we could someday find out what this is. I don't think we're gonna though.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I want to thank you for being on again.
No problem. Anytime you
And
guys want me, I'm on.
yeah, definitely. And also, um, I want to give you a moment to do a shout out for where people can find you.
Well, I'm on TikTok now, which officially is going to be banned on January 19th.
Yeah.
Um, my son's a little more positive with it staying than I am. And my channel is Joe Gillespie the Great. I'm also on Instagram, same name, Joe Gillespie the Great, which people say, why did you come up with Joe Gillespie the Great? Because when I was first on YouTube, I couldn't be Joe Gillespie the a-hole. I couldn't be Joe Gillespie the jerk. I tried to be all this stuff where the joke was on me and they wouldn't let me do it. So I decided to be the great to make it even worse of a
Mm-hmm.
joke, you know. But anyway, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok. That's about it. I do some very little on X.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, very little. And um, the Instagram thing, Threads, I post a video a day.
Okay. And then we had a comment from the last time you were on from a
Okay.
listener, and they were saying they wish there was more of you on YouTube because we also are on YouTube.
I think this is me being stubborn and kind of spiteful. I don't think I'll be back on YouTube. I
Mm.
used to have YouTube channels and I used to do stuff with strange news stories. That's what I was
Mm-hmm.
doing. And I was starting to get traction. And then they banned my channel and they'd send me an email. You can start a new channel if you want. Then why did you ban my channel? And finally, after the fourth time of doing that, that's when my son convinced me to go to TikTok.
Okay.
And I just got tired. I got tired with YouTube. Now, in the past few days, I brought the percentage of going back to YouTube from 0 to about 3 to 5% as a possibility. But and it's not the people who watch you do, it's the situation itself. It's very hard to gain traction there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. As long as you let me continue. Don't decide to cut me off after 6 months and tell me I can start again. You
Right.
know, if you let me continue, if it takes years, it's okay. It'll take years. I don't care. But yeah, I probably won't be back on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, for now, TikTok and Instagram is it. And thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah. Thank
I
you
wish I was
again.
more of an entertain. I feel like a boring human being, by the way.
No, no, definitely not. I
Okay.
think, um, people like um to discuss things, and I think people like to listen to people discussing things because there's a lot of people out there that aren't sure what they believe or know they have experiences with things, but just they're not sure. And when they can hear other people talk about experiences and things, it helps.
I agree. I think a lot of people think they're
Hmm.
alone in their experiences.
Yes,
They're not.
yes,
They're
they
not.
do. And then suddenly you find all these people.
Right. Right. I think it's that way with a lot of
Hmm.
things. I think it
Yeah,
is. I think it is. So,
yeah. Well, thank you again,
okay.
and you take care.
Thank you
And
so
we,
much.
yeah,
Anytime you all want me on, I'll come on.
okay, will
Thank you so
do. All
much.
right. Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye for now.
Bye bye.
Leave.
And if you have a story you want to share, you can email us at the spooky sisters 666 at gmail.com. And share us your stories, or if you have another way of getting in contact with us, and we might read your story, we might have you on. So catch you later.